everyone. We wanted to show an example of one of the virtual worlds that we've kind of been talking about during this session. And so the one that we're showing here um, is what's called Virbela's Open Campus. So this was created originally as a learning environment for for online MBA courses, where people were located in different places around the world. And so it then was actually bought by a company called EXP Realty, who are a real estate company, and they actually run their entire company, which has 18,000, more than 18,000 employees worldwide. They run their entire company in using this campus. So they have no physical offices. They just have this virtual campus that they use for running that. And this is the open campus, which kind of anyone can come into. And it's great to see Justina in here in the campus with us. And here is Marta as well. I think you might be able to, if I share my computer sound, you should also be able to hear when the team are talking. And we've got Iwa here as well. So yeah, you can see everyone is kind of in the virtual space. And what this, I think everyone has go-to on, which is why everyone's walking towards me in this somewhat threatening way. But that's okay. So and the idea with this virtual world is that it allows for kind of different interactions for the ones that you would get over Zoom. So it allows for kind of more informal and unstructured interaction than you would get with a Zoom call, where there's kind of the single conversation that's happening either in the main conversation or in the breakout rooms. Whereas with this, if we want to go off and talk one-to-one, we are able to do that. So I mean, I can quickly demonstrate. Maybe we can hear some of the people over here who are talking. Is there someone? Oh, yeah, here we go. We might be able to hear Sean, but actually we can't hear Sean at the moment. So let's not worry too much about that. So I'll show you some of the different environments that we have here in the virtual campus. So the first thing we'll head to is the auditorium. So actually, Iwa and Justina, if you want to follow me over to the auditorium, we can have a look in there. So we can head up here to the auditorium space. And this is probably the closest to kind of a broadcast style Zoom call that you would be able to see. So this is one where you've got space like this, where you've got this kind of big the big kind of auditorium style seating that you would see there. And actually, if we go to, so this is the main auditorium, but actually if we go to the demo auditorium, so using your go-to menu, we can show a few more of kind of the features of that space. So within here, you can kind of present up on the screen like you would do there. But you can also, we can do things like turn the lights, the stage lights on and off, and things like that, in order to make the presentation feel kind of more immersive and more engaging. The interesting thing that we found when using this is that audience members have said it's felt very different seeing different teams up on the stage presenting on a stage rather than presenting from their kind of individual windows within Zoom. And so it's quite a subtle psychological difference, but it is a significant one if you're looking at how kind of teams can kind of bond together and work together. And the other thing that's nice about the auditorium space is that I mean, you have the option to make the space smaller and bigger. So, this is the nice thing about a virtual world, is that we can adjust it in a way that we wouldn't be able to with a physical office space. But you also have the option to turn on what's called these private volumes. So if you see these blue dashed lines around the seats, those basically become like mini breakout rooms. So you would have that experience of being able to whisper to your neighbor within the auditorium and have those kind of smaller conversations. And the people on the stage are able to enable or disable that functionality really, really easily. Again, just providing that more informal, less structured kind of interactions than you would get over a Zoom call. So this is how it can kind of be used for those kind of large scale events. Another space that will be familiar to many interpreters is kind of the expo hall. So we will head to the expo hall now. And this is something that's been very popular while the kind of COVID restrictions have been in place, because obviously these type of events have not been able to take place in these type of spaces. And so it's been great to be able to have a space like this where you can you can have the different booths here, and people are able to go into this space and interact with kind of lots and lots of different companies. So things like virtual careers fairs and kind of those kind of large scale conferences in the past have taken place in places like the Excel, can now take place in this kind of virtual environment. And I mean, you may ask, well, what's the difference between this and a website which is showcasing all of this information? But again, I think we found there's kind of a subtle sort of psychological difference with this kind of stuff. I think people find it more comforting because it is closer to the way in which they're used to interacting with these type of events, and so that is something that they find sort of easier to navigate than to navigate a website, and they feel kind of more comfortable and able to interact in the way that they are used to. We'll check out another couple of things while we're here. So we've got the conference hall here, which what has been happening in here. Anthony Conway, booking producer from Windy City Live. Well, that sounds like a scintillating talk that I'm sorry that we've missed. But you can see here we have the option to adjust the room much more quickly than you would be able to. So you can have these kind of conference style, or you can have the pair partner tables. So if you want everyone to pair up and do pair exercises, you can do that within this space. And then you've got the option to present from these sort of large screens up here as well, which is so you can present any sort of content up there, like for example the London Interpreters Practice Group logo. And also the space can kind of, you can configure the space as well. So I mean, the nice thing about this is, unlike a meeting room or a Zoom room, which is relatively impermanent, this is something where this is kind of a persistent world. So people can kind of drop in and out while whenever they want, and it can kind of be personalized on that basis. So then the other place we're going to head to is the classroom. So as I say, this was originally created as a learning environment, and so the classroom space like this is useful for that sort of collaborative learning. And again, you can have it set up as a space with workstations like this, or for pair breakouts, like you can see here, where people can kind of take a seat and spend work together, and or you can have it set up as so. There, well done, brilliant. There we go. That's Natasha working in a pair together. Great team, and hi. And or we can go into a circle discussion like we saw there. Sorry for pulling the chair out from under you there, Natasha. And so, again, it's just a more natural environment for people to operate in than to do it over Zoom. And I mean, as you will all be aware, obviously, the other thing that this helps to combat is Zoom fatigue, which is something that's been recognized as kind of a real issue. So being able to mix things up so that it's not just always on Zoom, but you've got the option to work in this type of environment, but also on video call is something that's really good. And we're going to head to the demo team suite finally. So we've kind of talked about how it can be used for events and expos and things like that, and for learning. So this type of classroom environment. And then the team suite is really interesting because this space that you can see here, which is the London Interpreters Practice Group Team Suite, as you can see, this kind of office space has been really interesting for as a collaboration tool, because you can it allows for, again, to recreate some of those chance interactions that you see. So I mean, one of the powerful moments for me when using this was I was due to meet someone in their office, and I met someone else coming out of the office who was their kind of previous meeting. Bumped into them, had a 3-minute conversation. That conversation then developed into a conversation over email, and we were then able to kind of have a longer discussion and a fruitful relationship. And the point is that with a move to entirely kind of distributed working, those type of chance interactions just completely disappear. And it's something that's actually really important. I mean, when we are designing buildings and office space, we talk about wanting to enhance the collision coefficient. So this is the likelihood that different teams will bump into each other. And with distributed working, you potentially lose that completely. Oh, I can see Justina is waiting for a handshake. Oh, there we go. I was going to shake your hand there, Justina. Yeah, there we go. Good. Real pleasure to meet you. So there was a chance collision between Justina and myself that turned into a handshake, and we made a deal off the back of it. So the as I say, that kind of collision coefficient, those spontaneous things, is a really exciting opportunity. And I think that's something that's really interesting about this type of space, from the point of view of how it can enable the distributed collaboration. So when teams are working remotely. And then finally, we were just going to head down to the beach. So I think I have to head out to the welcome area first, and then we can head out to the beach, because again, with this sort of space, I think another thing that's been really important is that it's a very it allows for kind of it to be quite whimsical. Oh, sorry, I think that you guys can now actually all hear that. So I will move away from Robin, who's talking there. So it allows you to, I mean, you can have fun with the space as well. So if we head down here to the beach, there's kind of no limitations on it in terms of what you can do. And again, I think that's something that people have really appreciated, because they're again, in the current environment, there's been less opportunities to have fun and kind of do stuff that's that kind of exemplifies your organization's character. And so being able to have that freedom within the virtual world is something that I think is very valuable. So yeah, if you click on the seat to sit down, Justina, at the moment, I think you might be left behind. But if you click on one of the seats, there you go. Yeah, and then we can drive off into the sunset together. So that is the drive past the lighthouse. Looks lovely, and yeah, so that's sort of a quick tour of the virtual world, and just highlights some of its possibilities in terms of running virtual events and virtual learning, and also for kind of collaboration. And so yeah, I think if anyone has any questions, I think we have some time at the end for some questions. But yeah, hopefully that was an interesting demonstration. I hope the sound's not too noisy on the boat. Actually, probably turn that down a bit. But yeah. All good, all good. Oh. Any questions from anyone? I guess not. Oh yeah,
Ed,
hi.
thank you so much for this excellent presentation. I
No
can
problem at
see
all.
Danielle has raised her hand, so I'm just going to give her
Okay,
the floor.
sorry, I can't see. Oh yeah, hi Danielle.
If you could just share, stop sharing your screen because we still can hear the. Or is it coming from me? Might be from me. Hold on.
Yeah,
Apologies.
sorry,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Loud that
Okay.
sound was.
Hi, thank you so much for introducing us to this virtual reality. I've got one point I would like to ask. I don't know if you are aware, I'm talking to colleagues here, but in 2012, 2013, there was a project with the European Union called Ivy, and it was called Interpreting in the Virtual Reality. So we had an island, and the idea was that we would come on the island, and the island was made of different rooms, and the rooms had walls, and on the walls you had role plays to practice, or a room would be a mock court, for example. Actually, I've put a link in the chat if anyone is interested. And the idea was that we would be able to interpret or to train interpreters in this environment. So this project went on there was IV1, IV2, and there were some drawbacks. And I was just wondering how the technology has moved on since 2012, 2013. The first drawback that we had was that it required loads of technicians and a huge technical team, and that was very expensive. And the second one was that students needed to go for quite a lot of training at the time to be able to fully feel comfortable using the avatar, going in the rooms, using the teaching materials that were made on the wall, for example. So from our point of view, it was quite nice because you could teach, for example, an interpreter where to sit in a triad situation where you have a solicitor, a person who doesn't speak English, and the interpreter. So you could really teach quite a lot there, but the drawbacks were such that it never went further than a demo, basically, because it was too expensive, too many technicians required, and then too much of the teaching time was taken to train the students on how to operate. And at the time, there was no COVID, so we were all next to each other in a room with a computer trying to learn how to use the avatar. So perhaps obviously the emergency was different. So I was just wondering if you could give us perhaps an understanding of the cost of the training that you really need before you can make, because I can see moving forward, backwards, that's fine, but really interacting, using, having a large group in a room, using the resources, how would that work? Sorry for this.
So it's a really good question, and I think there's no doubt that the people have been excited about the potential for virtual reality for a long time, but there has been it's taken a little while for the technology to catch up. But I think it sounds exactly right in terms of the difficulties that you were talking about, that's kind of no longer the case. I think that it's now possible to do that stuff a lot more easily in a virtual environment. So the cost of the headsets has gone down massively. They're much easier and much more intuitive to use if you do it via the headset route. I think something that we found that's interesting for this use case, which is around risk-free practice. So being able to practice risk-free as often as you would like to. Doing that on your desktop or on your mobile should also be beneficial. So you shouldn't just be limited to, with the virtual content that you created, it's obviously a great experience to do it on the headset, and that's very immersive and engaging, but it should also be an engaging experience on the desktop as well. And I mean, I can actually quickly show you, an example of that actually. So this is a demo which is called, something which is called Body Swaps, which is a conflict resolution demo. And I mean, the idea with this is that you take on the kind of the role of an avatar, and you're then immersed in in kind of a situation, much like you described. But the thing with this is this works on the desktop as well, and also in VR. So the virtual reality is kind of an enhancement of the
I think we've lost the sound.
So
Are Florence and Leonard not coming
yeah, I've switched off
they are.
the sound.
Leonard said they might be a couple of minutes late. They should be here soon. How's it going anyway?
The work is going very well.
Yeah,
that's what I like to hear. A happy team.
Well, the work is going well.
But yeah, so this is the idea. So this you can do this one in virtual reality, but you can also do this
if you're not happy with my manager
just as effectively in on the desktop too. So it's I think that's the way that we've seen people are taking it. So yeah, let me just pause that now so that we
thank you.
Don't have that on, but yeah, it's a really exciting, that's a really exciting use case. I think they just tried to do it 5 years too early, by the sounds of it. But now to do something like that now would cost 1% of the price, and would be much easier to do. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you so much. And actually, I put the link in the chat if you wanted to, or if colleagues wanted to check, the Ivy project, so it will give you an understanding of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it does sound brilliant. But it would I don't. So is it still running the program?
No, it was just a research project, and it went over a number of years. And then there was a prototype that was developed with an island and, courtroom, teaching materials. So we really saw the potential for it. It was used a little bit. It was Sabine Brown that developed it with a team, and it was used at Surrey University. But as far as I know, no, it's no longer something that is running. It was exciting because you could teleport, you could do loads of things, and it's a little bit like now, wow, but then what do you do with it? How many technicians do you need? What is the cost? How much training? And so that's why it didn't go further, basically. But I think you're right, it was a quite visionary, and at the time there was, remember that program, Social Life, or what was it called?
Second Life.
A Second Life, that's it. Where you had an avatar. And that was quite popular at the time as well. So I think this is where it stemmed from.
Yeah. Well, it's I mean, one of the things that we found with, I'm just looking at the video, it looks really good. But the one of the things that we found with the virtual campus, the Virbela campus that you saw there, is that it actually has it's got quite a shallow learning curve. So actually it's relatively simple to use and to work on. But that courtroom example, I mean, that's an example that that's something that we have developed learning for, because but not for interpreters, but for people who are giving depositions within the courtroom, just because that's a very high pressure situation that you can prepare someone for by getting them to practice over and over again in a risk-free environment. It really helps to improve their performance when they come to do it for real. So that courtroom, actually, I mean, it's being used to kind of prepare defendants or prepare witnesses so that they're familiar with the space before they go in there. So yeah, it's very much an idea that is kind of it makes sense to do that, and it would be good to explore that again.
So perhaps the interpreters could join in the courtroom, because in real life we used to go to the mock court of the police training center. So that's a little bit the same. So it's a training center online, and we could actually, us interpreters, find these existing spaces already and join in to interpret. That would be an idea, I think, and cost effective.
Yeah.
So I will shut up now.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions about the virtual worlds or virtual worlds in general?
I actually have a question, but I'm not sure if we still have time.
Okay.
Justina, Natasha.
Yeah, we do. Go ahead.
We do. Okay, thank you so much. I found it very inspirational, and in my previous life, I've actually organized a lot of conferences with a lot of team building activities, so like 500 people attending. And when researching for today, without even knowing that you will be coming, I came across a conference, a first virtual conference that took place in Poland in June for over 1,200 people. And I discovered that that was your platform. So congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Well, not my platform, but the platform we are using. So I'm glad that it was, I'm glad that it worked well.
It's amazing because I read a lot about it, and one of my clients actually they do tend to organize once a year a big event for all the employees, so over 600 people, and it normally takes place over the whole weekend. Obviously, in the current climate, this is not possible to organize face to face, and I used to help them a lot with organization. It was a headache to find a hotel that would accommodate all the different activities. So I will be speaking to them soon. I was just wondering what's the way forward if a client would be interested. What do you do? Is the demo first, or how do you proceed
you can, I mean, you can join in the virtual campus as you've done there, and I think there are a number of different virtual conference offerings out there, and I would say it's good to be very clear on what your kind of key requirements are, and then to explore them on that basis, because you may, if it's about ease of access, or if it's about kind of you want lots of people in the same space, so there's different ones that I think do things better or less well, but they I mean, because of the last year, there's a lot of very exciting tools out there that are being developed really fast. So but for kind of those large scale 600 people, something like that, Virbela is a very good tool. But yeah, if you pop into the open campus, I mean, that's the really nice thing about the open campus. You can go in there, you can actually go into their Virbela's actual offices. This is one of the other things I really love about the tool is, you can go in and you can actually go to their actual offices. So this is their offices. And I mean, you can literally, if you walk up to, this is the CEO's office here. I meant to show you this earlier actually as well. So this is the CEO, this is Alex, who I've never met in real life, but I've met quite a lot virtually. So you can literally walk in there and ask them about this sort of stuff, that is amazing. Kind of that level of openness and transparency is really brilliant. And then Craig, so actually, well, this is Craig in his office right now with his, I guess, his new dog. I don't know, for St. Patrick's Day. But yeah, that's Craig and that's his family. And I mean, I've met him, yeah, many times. So that would be my suggestion: is head in there and ask, and they're willing to help. And I mean, that sort of openness, which is enabled by this, is really cool. That's really exciting.
Thank you. That's just brilliant. Well done.
No problem.
And I don't. Sorry, Ed, if I may, I don't have any questions, but I'm an absolute newbie to virtual world, and I was literally so excited, clumsily walking behind you, following you everywhere, and trying different things. It was fun and well, and interesting. So for that, yeah. I think well, we all thank you. So it was a great presentation, and really, thank you very much.
No problem at all. It would have been nice. I mean, it would be cool to see kind of a conversation in the space, which we didn't really show that kind of how you would have the conversation in the space, because I didn't realize that was coming through the wrong headset. But you know, yeah. I mean, people feel free to pop in and try it, because it's yeah, as I say, it's an interesting space to look at.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And with that, I think we can smoothly transition to the end of our practice session today. Again, huge